Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we got player props as we roll along here in these player props. Another 3-1 back-to-back to get this week going for you guys. So we're going to look to stay hot with these props for you. Also got another episode up with Best Bet, some sides and totals looks for you guys. So make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out both of these episodes each and every weekday as we're bringing them to you for the rest of this season and obviously into the postseason. Let's go ahead and keep it rolling here, Nate. Let's start off with Rudy Gobert and the player props here.
Yeah, I mean, 21.5 points and rebounds is pretty exploitable here against the Suns for the Frenchman, and it's plus 125 at DraftKings for a double-double. Usually you get the kind of the tougher prices at DraftKings, but that's better than industry average, and this is their line for the 21.5, so I think that's exploitable to just kind of roll with that. I mean, I think he's going to have a lot of success on the board. Suns are allowing the most offensive rebounds in January. Rudy averaged 3.8 in the playoffs against this team last year on the offensive glass, I'm talking about, and 3.5 in his last two in the regular season against them. Maybe they tried to fix it with Nick Richards, and I mean, certainly an improvement over Plumlee. I mean, Nurk, as bad as he is offensively, is at least a little bit more physical on the defensive glass. So, I mean, Nick Richards wasn't able to do much as he played sparingly. You know, Rudy, his last three against Charlotte averaged 20 and 13. So I'm not really thinking Nick Richards is going to body up with the Stifle Tower here. It's more about like fit with the Wolves once again, as they just try to figure out how and where to play Julius Randle. And it seems they're getting on track here. I mean, bigger news for Rudy is that Mikey Conley's back in the starting lineup because DiVincenzo out indefinitely. And that has certainly helped unlock him in terms of getting some offense. But I mean, there's a strong correlation between him getting on the offensive glass and him scoring. It's not really surprising. When he's gotten 30 minutes in his last seven here, he's gone 13.5 and 10.7, 5 and 2 to the over. Only one offensive rebound in both unders. So, and those are against like the Knicks, like teams that do a very good job on the defensive glass. When he's gotten 4+ offensive rebounds, he's gone over this in 6 straight. Some of them like way over, obviously like double doubles in pretty much each one. And again, yeah, the Suns are struggling on the offensive glass. They don't really get you in foul trouble because they're such a jump shooting team. So that's been an issue for Rudy at times here. So I think he plays the good 35 here. And it should be a close game based on the line. And that means 30+ minutes. He's pretty good for a double-double.
Yeah. No qualms with that for sure. Yeah, Nick Richards, I mean, I don't know. There's a little bit of Spider-Man meme with Nurk. Not the exact same player, but I mean, last game, Plumlee played down the stretch because Richards was like a minus 20 on the floor that game. Plumlee was like a plus 16. So I think there's still a bit of a carousel going on with Phoenix centers. And I don't think that's the case with Rudy to this point. We've seen Nas come in, eat into some of his minutes over the last like 3 weeks. There's been a few games and people started to go, I don't know, maybe Rudy's getting phased out. And it was like, no, there was a couple games where they just played teams that didn't have a center and Rudy was just played off the floor. But that's not obviously going to be the case here because as much as the Phoenix Suns are a jump shooting team, they are also reliant on at least one guy to be focused on rebounds, which is why occasionally I'll like center rebounds for the Suns because I'm like, this guy's out there to do nothing else. But I don't think that's going to work well in this matchup either way. So love that look there for Rudy. Let me go to his former teammate, his boy, Karl Anthony Towns, and take him over 12.5 rebounds. I took this last night when I saw it open because it was plus 105. And I was like, I'm taking that. This is not going to be plus 105 in the morning, but you can still get minus 105. And I don't know how long that will be there. So highly recommend getting the 12.5 before it gets like minus 125 only. This is partly because there's still this view that you're not going to get rebounds against the Nuggets because it's Nikola Jokic, but that is just not the case. Centers are getting the fifth. They're allowing the fifth most rebounds per game to the center position for the Nuggets. Recent center numbers versus this team, pretty much everybody's going over. Rudy had 14, Sabonis had 19, Bam even had 11, which was more than his 8.5 line that he normally gets. Only Şengün and Gafford really went under. Everybody else went over. Zoo was the other under. So we're basically talking about 11 of the last 15 centers getting their prop. And 7 of those getting at least 12 boards. So like there's rebounds to be had. And I was looking a little bit more into it. Denver is taking the fewest 3-point attempts per game on the season. kind of wild to think about. They do have shooters. I guess that's what happens when you have Russ out there for a bit more. Aaron Gordon has not taken threes this year. His increase in threes last year was a big reason why the Nuggets started taking more threes last year. Now there's shots closer to the rim, which means they're in position for the center to get the board. It's a similar look for Miami, who's gotten better, by the way. I would not be just going right to Jared Allen overs tonight thinking, oh, Miami's given up the 6th most rebounds to centers on the season. So weird. Since Khalil Ware entered the starting lineup, much different for them. So they're a much better rebounding team. Denver has not improved their rebounding against centers specifically. Guards and forwards, pretty good. But otherwise, I think Cat's going to be in position for that. He played 34 minutes last game against them because it was a 27, 20 point, whatever point blowout against the Nugs in the last one. So he only played 34 minutes. He's at 35 on the season and will play 38 when he's needed if this is a close game. I think it's pretty close. I do think the Knicks win this one, and I think they're likely to cover 3 at home. It's probably going to be close enough that we're going to have to rely on like free throws in the end of the game to get there. So I didn't really want to mess with that level of 50-50 kind of bet. But I think that's going to lead to Cat playing 36 plus in this one. And he's still at 14.2 rebounds per 36 minutes. So in the games that he gets 36, he's getting 14. I think we got enough of an edge at 12.5 here.
Yeah, maybe Josh Hart finally misses a game, which would certainly open up some rebounding chances. But yeah, they're about neck and neck. Jokic, I mean, yeah, while he has the ball in his hands all the time, he's not always taking the shot. So yeah, Cat should be boxing him out, trying to get those boards. No qualms for me here. I mean, I like Jokic on the other side too, but that's just how it goes with Cat on this Knicks team. Is like him and the other center are probably going to eat.
Yeah.
Before I go second pick here, I did see Bruce Brown props finally up 17.5 PRA. Give me that at BetGM MGM. It just came up. He's gone over that in 4 of his last 5, and we talked about why the Raptors probably going to have success against the Wizards. So, but what I got here,
real quick, just because you brought it up, I have to say I love the boards. The PRA is great. If you get the boards at 3, even 4.5 for decent money, he's been a rebounding machine. So please continue.
Brucey Brown for sure. But yeah, I got a second pick here is Khalil Ware, of course, the new rookie of the year favorite by a long shot. Dropped from plus 450 to 135 is still the best price you can get at FanDuel. It's about even money at some spots. He's only been playing 5 games, and the market's just like, yep, we got a rookie who's actually doing some stuff. And maybe he just got the starter treatment against Brooklyn and didn't play as much minutes. And everyone was like, oh, he's pouting. It's like, well, maybe he's an important part of their team going forward with Jimmy completely gone, and they don't want to waste him against Brooklyn. So he bounces back immediately with 19 and 10 in 43 minutes against Orlando. I'm just taking the points here. I don't know if I said it, which you can still get at 13.5. Fine with it at 14.5 where it's been bumped up here. And I'm not that scared of Cleveland's defense, but even if I was, like, Ware has big games right now against Orlando, Milwaukee, Portland, and the Spurs, who are pretty much among the top 10 interior defenses. If you look recently, like Portland again shutting somebody down last night with the Bucks. So and Mobley is still on a minutes restriction, it would appear. So like, even if that is his initial matchup, he will get his opportunities against other guys. But in general, the Cavs defense, not very good in January. 2nd worst on corner threes, 7th worst above the break, 7th worst in the paint, 8th most points allowed. And Ware has been able to step outside and drain and score in the paint more than anybody on this Heat team. 9.6 points on a team high amount of paint touches in his last 5. He's only shooting 34% on catch and shoot threes, but went 4 for 4 last time out from deep. So I think, he'll be able to knock some down for sure. I mean, he's got a good stroke to go along with the good pull-up game that he has established, and just, kind of a matchup problem. Mobley is a guy who could match up with him, but he seems to not be completely healthy. And with Bam out there, he's being more aggressive lately as the Heat kind of turn the page here. I think that just opens up more space for Ware to play off Bam and get his in what should be a high scoring game.
Yeah. Yep. I definitely like this one too. I mean, this is the game to come back to Ware. It was a weird one. The one that he went under, he played 23 minutes. I don't really know what was going on in that game. He didn't really look like himself, but it seemed like a one-off and maybe like a weird sickness or something. It literally looked like he had the flu because of how he was playing basketball in that game that he went under. But this is a great matchup for someone in terms of needing minutes. You got to match that big. And look, I mean, if you're following Heat the Heat beat of any kind. I hope there's at least a media outlet called the Heat beat. But if you're following the Heat beat of any kind, you know that these Heat fans are calling for more Ware, Adebayo, and Jovic on the floor at the same time. They've been playing this like massive lineup with three guys that can basically dribble, two guys that have legit handles, one guy that's a 7-foot freak with his handles and athleticism. I love that for them. And that what better time to keep trying out that than against a very big front court like Cleveland. So I could see the minutes staying high again for Ware, which is all we care about. If he plays 30 minutes, he's a 15 point, 17 point, 20 point scorer, but minimum 15 for sure. So I like 13 and a half points still. You mentioned Nikola Jokic. Great foreshadow. I'm going to take him over 27 and a half points. Minus 125 on DK. It's minus 122 in some places. Just shop it around and get to it before it gets to 28 and a half. So let me get through this quickly so you can get this video up and see it. He's just looking to score versus good teams. This is a man who I do use conjecture when I'm betting on Nikola Jokic. I think he's so good that he can basically decide how he would like to dominate a game and impact it. Does he want to score, or does he want to make sure everybody else is involved so that the defense can't hone in? And this is a defense that I'm pretty sure he's going to be good to go one-on-one. And then he's just going to pwn, and he's just going to own. And it's related to the Cat rebound bet, because even if Cat is the guy guarding Jokic while he's going up, he's going to be taking shots from a place that if he misses front rim, even if he misses softly off the back rim, who's in better position than Cat to literally turn around and just get the ball, right? So I think they're correlated, because I think Jokic is looking at 22-ish shots in this game at about 36 minutes, assuming that doesn't get blown out either. And I don't think it will, but like I said, looking to score versus good teams. If you look at him this season versus teams in the top 10, 32 points per game in schedule for both conferences, 32 points per game. He's averaging 30 on the season. It's just 28 points per game against teams that are in the bottom half of the league. And that was kind of the case last year too. But when you look at this one against the Knicks, right, specifically for the matchup, like he's taking 21 shots a game this season versus 17 last season. He's going up against a team that is not going to double him down low because they really try not to leave shooters too much. And they are horrible at limiting stuff in the pick and roll ball handling, pick and roll play in general. For whomever is a part of the pick and roll, they're bad. And they're just going to be hunting Jalen Brunson, put him in the pick and roll with whomever Cat is guarding, which is going to be Jokic, and then just go from there. So that's going to be a major play. There's going to be a little bit of like Russ and Jokic in the pick and roll just to keep Cat involved in it as much as possible. And then whichever other guard is available to get into it, they're going to do it with. That's going to be a big reason for Jokic taking so many shots and why I believe in the usage for him tonight. And in the last game, it was the case as well. It was such a blowout that he didn't get there with the minutes, even though he did have a pretty good game in that one as well. His shooting percentage was just awful. He still took the 20 shots in the 32 minutes. And I think he should be good for 36 once again in this one, because they need to win. It's two losses in a row. One of them really, really bad. Both of them really bad because they got spanked by their rival in division in the Wolves. And then they lost to the Bulls in a bad loss. And that's another reason. Them on the road, Jokic definitely like a little bit more likely to score on the road, especially last season. This season, he's right at about the same, but last season, about 30 points per game on the road versus like 26 at home, where he was diming up more. And I think I'll believe in him doing that a lot more in this one as well.
Yeah. And I highlighted Jokic numbers after a loss. And let me just like read you the game. Like you can add the rebounds here, but the points have been insane after a loss. 38, 56, 48, 33, 37. We got 46. And then last time out, 33-point triple-double. And now we're at back-to-back losses coming off. So definitely think you follow that pattern here against the Knicks.
Yep, like we said, like what does Jokic want to do in this game? Because he can control or impact it at his will, essentially. But that's all the time we have for you in this one. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the best bets with some sides and totals looks for you guys as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.